Kingdom
live.
What's hot? Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni.
Yeah, when it's grim, be the Grim Reaper and go get it.
It's Mahomes' house, and it is good. Woo! Arrowhead, man. The Lombardi Trophy has a red and gold reflection. You gotta fight for your right to party.
Let's go!
Howdy, Chiefs Kingdom. It's Wednesday. It's 8 o'clock. It's Chiefs Kingdom Live. Thank you so much for joining us. Real quick, while you're here, before you forget, click or tap like, click or tap that subscribe. Don't forget also, tell a friend, tell a family member, tell some Chiefs fans, help spread the word. We'd sure appreciate it. We got a good show with lots of good things to talk about tonight. Regular season is in the books, and playoffs start this weekend. Lots of news around the NFL, lots of news around the Chiefs in this playoff game, some scintillating storylines. We'll talk about some NFL playoffs, not just the Chiefs game coming up against Miami on Saturday night in frozen tundra of Arrowhead Stadium, J Field. It's going to be cold. So a lot of good stuff to talk about. Before we get into all that, thank you everybody in the chat. It's great to see you all here already. Fellas, how we doing? Bo, you look like you're ready for the game Saturday night already.
Yeah. Yep. Got my tickets ready for the game. Just been practicing standing outside. It's only 30 degrees here, and realizing it's going to be 30 degrees cooler on Saturday is kind of hard to wrap your head around. But no, I'm doing good. Good to see you guys. Good to see everybody in the chat. Thank you guys for showing up, commenting. We always appreciate it. Nick, how you doing, man?
I am good. I work from home, and so the snow hasn't impacted me one bit. It's been great. But yeah, look, it's we're just getting ready for playoffs here. Got a good opponent coming up at Arrowhead, a wild card game. I was listening to a few things this week, in one of the local KC broadcasters was talking about how, it's going to be hard for Kansas City to kind of get up for a wild card game, especially when it's going to be like 0 degrees. And I was just thinking about how spoiled and how awesome it is that we're that spoiled that the Lions haven't had a playoff game at their place in 30 years. They don't care what the weather is. And we're just like, man, it's just a wild card game. I don't know.
It's going to be cold.
It's going to be cold. Are we going to go out there and really, it's awesome, man. It's awesome that the Chiefs have been on this run. So.
Yeah. They're on a record pace here with all the playoff appearances and division titles, and they're doing this and that. And I mean, they haven't had to play in the wild card round very much here. Patrick Mahomes, I think, what is his record? 11-1 or 10-2 or something like that in the playoffs. And he's never played a road playoff game outside of the Super Bowl, which isn't a playoff game, I guess, but postseason game. All the playoff games the last 5 years that we've been able to go enjoy at Arrowhead, and we get another one Saturday night. Night games we've talked about this. Night games always my favorite. It just feels different. The atmosphere is different under the lights and at Arrowhead. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. It's gonna be cold as hell. I hope I have enough clothes. I always seem to manage.
Right.
You can always keep like your body warm. It's your face, right? And like the fingers and the toes. Usually about halftime. Yeah. Usually about halftime start really getting you. But
I'm ready.
Got the gear there.
Brought it up here. Arrowhead's allowing cardboard, so you bring in some cardboard and put it underneath your feet. It helps not sitting directly on that concrete there.
I've heard that, and I've done both, and I didn't notice any difference. So.
They also sell alcohol too. That helps. But for all you non-drinkers, that cardboard
helps you not feel it. But
right, cardboard or whiskey, one of the two. Whatever gets you there.
Some hipster cardboard whiskey, right? They got everything flavored, everything now. So
right. Before we get into the Chiefs games, we won't talk much about the game against the Chargers. There was a couple interesting storylines and things that happened, but Really not much of a game. Some NFL news and notes. This is kind of Chiefs related. The All-Pro team has been released. And quite honestly, I usually put a lot of stock into the All-Pro and kind of disregard the Pro Bowl rosters. They whiffed big time on the All-Pro
did they?
team, just as badly as the Pro Bowl. I mean, Travis Kelce and Chris Jones are All-Pro. L'Jarius Sneed, he had the second most coverage snaps in a season without allowing a touchdown in NFL history, or at least going back as far
607 or something like that.
Some ridiculous number.
So many.
Patrick Mahomes snubbed off of there. Lamar Jackson gets first team All-Pro nod, and when you look at Patrick's total yards and touchdowns and turnovers and his supporting cast as compared to Lamar Jackson, Patrick's just as good, if not better, in pretty much all the key statistical categories. I guess the Ravens have a better record, so he gets the nod. Nick, All-Pro, were you disappointed in the selections? You think they got it about right? What do you think?
I mean, I want our guys to be on there, but ultimately there's only one trophy or one list at the end of the year that matters, and that's the list of the people that won the Super Bowl, and that's the Lombardi Trophy, right? So, look, I don't know. I'm not overly disappointed. I think that looking at just from a statistical standpoint or from a record standpoint, that I don't know, it's deceiving, right? And we were talking about this a little bit before we came on. It's more of okay, so who kind of in the last few weeks of the year had the best games that didn't have a totally terrible season award? So, yeah, I mean, I think Mahomes is the best player in the league, and I think he should be the All-Pro quarterback. But I wasn't overly I don't know, put out about it, I guess.
Bo?
I have a wolf costume, Brenda, right here.
Right.
For Halloween. I actually that does keep the face warm.
That might be a good option.
No, yeah. First off, congratulations to TMFK and Chris Jones. I mean, those guys deserve it. They are All-Pro. I mean, we talk about it week in and week out, how much just those guys being on the field can change the other side of the field's thinking of how they're going to approach playing them. Kelsey's badass, but yeah, Mahomes and Sneed to me just snubbed, L'Jarius Sneed. Yeah, we've talked about it. How many number one wide receivers he's faced, and just we're not gonna say lockdown, but I'll say lockdown. No touchdowns, all under 100 yards. I mean, name a receiver: Tyreek Hill,
Justin Jefferson.
I mean, the best of the best wide receivers we've played this year, and he shut them all down. And just to get snubbed is, I mean, it is what it is. Nick's right. At the end of the day, all that matters is that Super Bowl. But you think you'd like to get recognized by your peers when you have that kind of a performance, especially when it's that far and beyond most other DBs.
Yeah, the All-Pro designation, I mean, that's an honor that carries weight with the players. I know they look at that, and that's something that if you make that team, that's something that players do get excited about. And when you look at Hall of Fame careers, right? People say, how many Super Bowls did the player win? How many All-Pros did they make? How many Pro Bowls did they make? Which we've talked about the Pro Bowl being more of a beauty contest or popularity contest. But yeah, the All-Pro thing to me, Travis Kelce, he missed 2 games, obviously, one with injury to start the year, and then he sat the final game of the year. But he had one of his more down years, I guess you could want to call it. Chris Jones missed a game. He got to double-digit sacks there barely at the end of the year. Not one of his best years. So for guys like that on a struggling offense to make it, and a guy like L'Jarius Sneed, who was on the better side of the ball for the Chiefs this year, to not make it, it's a little head scratching for me. I'm not losing sleep over it. I'm not distraught over it, but it is. I mean, it's a little bit baffling that a couple of those guys that made it, and a couple of guys that didn't make it. So
It's really
I don't know.
telling where the rest of the league thinks we're at, though, as a team, though, right? That only Kelsey and Jones are kind of there. No, I don't know.
It's a good chip on the shoulder going into the postseason.
Right. Yeah, they Chiefs can definitely play the disrespect card. They did that last year, and they were the 1 seed, right, and marched their way to the Super Bowl and won. And Travis Kelce was talking about put some respect on our name after the game, and so those guys definitely take that, and they used it. If they could find a way to use that card and use that as motivation last year, they sure as hell can use it this year. So, congrats to those two and the other players. I mean, they got a lot of stuff right. I mean, Tyreek Hill was wide receiver. Dude had an amazing year. If he didn't get injured, I fully expect that he would have got 2,000 yards receiving. A lot of the other guys on there are names and guys that really, really perform well.
What did Tyreek finish at? Like 17 something?
Yeah, it was like 1740 or something like that. But
I think he's the only receiver in NFL history to have multiple 1,700-yard seasons, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So, hey, maybe next year. But, yeah, like I said, Super Bowl, that's what the guys really want. Some other NFL news. Had a couple coach firings this week. Mike Vrabel gets let go in
big
Tennessee.
ones. Yeah, it's a big one.
Old Cheat Carroll there in Seattle. He I don't know if he got fired or it was the right term to use. He's staying on as an advisor, which I'm guessing means maybe it was like an amicable thing where they both kind of chose to go separate ways. Pete Carroll is older than you'd think.
He's the oldest coach in the league, isn't he?
Yeah. So everyone was talking about it was shocking that he was let go. I don't know how shocking it was. I mean, the team had a winning record this year. They were 1 game out of the playoffs, but with his age and maybe wanting to get a different quarterback and go a new direction, I think you're probably seeing the end of the Geno Smith there. He had a couple of decent year run here, but they need to get younger at that position. So I could see that move being made. What do you guys think? There's a lot of these coaches getting fired. There's coaches that got fired earlier in the year. You saw Josh McDaniels get fired there at the Raiders. Brandon Staley got fired in the Chargers. Nick, Vrabel, these guys, Pete Carroll getting fired. That mistake by those teams, a good idea, bad idea? What do you say?
Mike Vrabel, that was surprising to me. I know that they didn't have a good year, but I mean, that guy's taken them to an AFC championship game and taking them to a 1 seed with Ryan Tannehill, I mean, a quarterback, right? I mean, they traded away AJ Brown, and they really haven't done him a lot of justice with the roster there. Every time the Chiefs played the Titans, the Titans struck me as a really well coached football team that plays well. I mean, I think that, I don't know, I've seen some of the internet comments. One that stuck out to me on this was like, anytime a coach gets fired and people go, hey, like he's got his pick of the teams, or like, which team do you think he's going to go to? You just know that team that fired him, like, they fucked up. I mean, that's
right.
So, I mean, I'm not like overly fond of Mike Vrabel. I mean, he is a Chiefs legend, right? With his time here, but yeah, that was the head scratcher for me was letting go of Vrabel.
Yeah, I think Vrabel probably wanted to get fired.
There's that too.
You rarely see coaches quit, right? It's you get fired or you retire. Ryan Tannehill was above average quarterback there for a few years in Tennessee, but he started to age. They were going back and forth between him and Will Levis, the rookie. Derrick Henry is starting to become, upon, if he's not already there, on the down slope of his career, right? He's on the downhill slide here. They traded away A.J. Brown. Mike Vrabel, to me, had to kind of been looking around and saying, man, this place, this is really, they making decisions and doing things I really want to be a part of. I think maybe it's like one of those things where maybe he asked to be fired or kind of did what he thought he needed to do.
They got to pay him, right?
I don't think they got to pay
his contract.
What's that?
They fire him. They got to pay his contract out.
Yeah, maybe agrees, hey, if you fire me, you don't have to pay me or something behind this. I don't know exactly how that. I obviously don't have those kind of conversations, but a guy that had done as much winning there, and maybe he didn't want to go through a rebuild, and maybe the team really is that dumb. I mean, they traded AJ Brown away, right? So
yeah, they're not making too good of moves. That's for sure.
Teams too, to me, they put way too much stock in the coach. I've said it a lot on this show. I think it's 75% of the blame and the glory should go to the players, and 25% to the coach. Look at the Panthers. Matt Rule was a terrible coach last year, and he was awful, and they couldn't wait to get rid of him, and they fired him as quick as they could. And that team was one game out of the playoffs last year. This year, they had, the worst record in the NFL? Was that coach really that terrible? I don't know. I don't know. I think these coaches, like I said, get way too much blame and get way too much praise when things go bad and when they go well. Bo, what do you think about Vrabel, some of these coaches being let go, and do you think maybe they end up somewhere else, or those look like attractive spots? What do you think?
No, yeah, the Vrabel thing, I'm with Nick. It was a kind of a head scratcher. I mean, we've talked about his winning culture just now, but I was just more impressed with the camaraderie he had around the team. Like, if you talk to or hear anybody talk about him as an ex-player or worked with him, they have nothing but high praises for him, and he just brought an excellent atmosphere to that team. So yeah, it was a little bit surprising that they let go of him. The Pete Carroll one, not so much. That writing was kind of on the wall with the whole Russell Wilson trade and debacle with the Team 3 and him allowing all that weird shit to go on in Seattle. I mean, dude, he has some weird stats when you look at his overall winning record with him, with and without Russell Wilson. I think without Russell Wilson, he's below 500, like just below, like maybe like 33 and 30 something. Right. But with Russell Wilson, he's like 104 and 50 and something. Right. So it's just completely skewed. And to go to your thing, like how much of it is the coach, how much of it is the player? I think it's like there has to be that chemistry, obviously, between players and coach for a team to be successful. And so like how much of it is one or the other, I don't know, but it definitely helps your team succeed if you have a good coach. And he couldn't win with Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, who was their badass running back? Carson, and Russell Wilson, right? And he couldn't win then. It was just kind of like, yeah, writing's on the wall up there in Seattle. They gotta change some stuff. The AFC West coaches, again, that writing was on the wall too. They spent so much money to try and take us out, and here we are, AFC West champs again, right? And man, they're in scramble mode now. They don't know what to do. They're looking at red on their balance sheet, just red. Oh my God!
Oh, the Broncos. So many people. The Broncos are screwed too.
Yeah, they're stuck with the coach. You know, they would get rid of him if they could, but they're stuck with Sean Payton now, right? And just like, oh.
Well, not only the Broncos, the Chargers, they're in cap hell, and then for the next couple of years, with some of these huge contracts they gave out. Not to mention their two best players on offense, Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler, are aging. I believe Austin Eckler is a free agent. I don't think there's any way they can afford to re-sign him. So he probably exit. You got Justin Herbert, who it's remarkable how similar he is, his career trajectory is so far with Phillip Rivers.
Right. Oh, man. Chargers.
A lot of eye-popping numbers.
It used to be
stats,
funny.
But not the wins to back it up. That coach had to go, though. We've talked about it before on the show. He was just he was not a good coach. He made poor decisions, gambled way too often, was cocky, arrogant, was going to show everybody how coaching really should be done in the NFL, and was going to reinvent the wheel. And now he'll be lucky to get another defensive coordinator position in the NFL. I think maybe you see that guy end up like on a college team somewhere. Fair. Maybe he can resurrect his career there and get another shot. But of all the teams, the Raiders are probably in the best position. They got Devontae Adams locked up. They've got Max Crosby, who's a young kind of cornerstone building block guy there on the defense. But they don't have the answer at quarterback. They had Aiden O'Connell rolling out there for the last half of the year.
Right.
Antonio Pierce, are they going to keep that guy as the interim head coach? He kind of got some juice going, and they won some games, but they also still didn't. I mean, they They lost to the Vikings.
I don't know. If you're I think if you're the Raiders, you're at least giving Vrabel a call. You're giving Belichick a call.
Yeah.
You're giving all these
Harbaugh.
guys a call. Harbaugh just winning the Michigan championship, good call, right? Like, yeah, you're gonna see like, hey, what would it take? You're gonna test those waters for sure. I would imagine.
How much of a deterrent do you think Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are in the same division for coaching prospects when they're looking?
Oh,
Do you think they think about that? Like they're like, why would I want to go there when I could go here that I don't have to contend with like a demigod at quarterback, right?
I mean, I think they do, but you also have to think about the confidence level of these guys when they get to this level.
Bravo, Chauncey. The wheel he invented ended up running him over. Talking about the Steelers.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a great
quote. So it's just one of those things where people were talking about, like when Aaron Rodgers was going to go, would he go to the Broncos, right? Or I'm sorry, it was the Raiders. And Devontae was there and this and that. And people, does he really want to go? Does he really want to go to the same division as Patrick Mahomes? Look, I guarantee you that guy's not worried about it. Like a lot of these guys, when they make it to this level, and you make it to the NFL, you're an alpha dog, and you're used to being the best of the best at pretty much every level you've played and coached at. So while that may factor in somewhat, I don't think there's any player or coach that's scared to go to the AFC West. I don't think there's anybody that's scared of Patrick Mahomes. We talked about people like, how can Devontae Adams go to the Raiders and say that he wants to win? And it wasn't about the money, it was about winning. Because Devontae Adams thinks that he's going to be the difference maker and he's going to turn that team around. That's the mindset of these guys, especially these elite players and these top coaches. So I definitely think they factored in, but I don't think it scares them away.
I'm not saying that it's scary. That may not be the right way to phrase it. Like, if it's your only option, but if you've got multiple good options, like, and you could go to a division that, like the NFC South, right?
Right. Got our man JT's in here. Good to see you, JT.
Sorry, JT.
I think it would scare more the owners more than anybody, right? Like you're looking at all these coaches, and you can't go with a young, newer option. It's a position that commands a much higher caliber coach now, right? You're going against the GOATs, so you can't just look at a new up and comer and be like, yeah, man, you're the man for the job. I mean, you're looking at Belichick's, you're looking at Harbaugh's, you're looking at, as Brenda points out, Saban's leaving college, right? You're looking at higher caliber, big brain football coaches.
Yeah, JT, I don't know how long you've been watching, but we were just talking about these coaching vacancies and guys getting fired and how much to blame the coach. Y'all got rid of Matt Rule, and last year he had you one win away from the postseason, and this year one of the worst records, or maybe even the worst record in the NFL. You think maybe Matt Rule got a little bit too much of the blame, or what I'd be interested to see what JT thinks about that coaching move last year with the way their season went this year. Glad they're wiping the slate clean. Yeah, I still haven't lost confidence or faith in the quarterback there and Young. So I think he's got a chance. They just got to get him some weapons. And rookie quarterbacks, look, for every Patrick Mahomes, and I know he didn't play as a rookie, but he was basically a rookie, right, his first year. And he had the amazing 5,000 yards passing, 50 passing touchdowns. For every guy like him, or maybe a CJ Stroud that comes in and plays really good as a rookie in their first year, there's a handful of guys that struggle their first year. Peyton Manning comes to mind. Guys that maybe don't look like they're all that great one year, but once they get their feet wet and they can get some weapons and get in a system and get familiar with it, they kind of turn it around. So I'm not giving up. I'm not checking out on Bryce Young. Wilkes was the answer, and we let him go. It's an interesting take. Yeah, could be. Yeah, no, I mean, they got rid of some decent players, although I think it was time to get rid of Cam Newton. I think he showed once he left there that he was pretty much done. He was used up at that point. But it was funny. We talked about on last week's show the playoff teams and how the playoffs were going to shake out, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But everybody on this show picked the Panthers to win that division, and
I know. That's what I was just thinking.
Didn't quite turn out that way.
Missed that one.
Buccaneers.
Hindsight's 2020, Scott.
It is, except for when you called it ahead of time. it was interesting going back and looking at those and seeing like how some of the picks and everything went. But we'll get to that when we talk about playoffs coming up here. Any other Chiefs news? Anything else you guys I missed? Anything we want to get to before we kind of talk about maybe a little bit of the Chargers game and the Dolphins? Or
I wanted to bring up the whole Jameis Winston debacle that happened at the end of that game and see what you guys thought about that.
I think when your coach tells you to go kneel it and you go out and you and the boys decide to not listen to the coach, I don't think that's a very smart career move for Jameis Winston. So, especially when you're not exactly a Patrick Mahomes or a Lamar Jackson or one of these top Josh Allen guys, right? I thought it was pretty Bush League. They're talking about, he said after the game, well, we wanted to get our man a touchdown. He hadn't had one all year. You really want a touchdown against people that aren't trying? Like that's, I don't even know like the joy or the pride that the guy gets in getting that touchdown the way he did it. Yeah, not a smart move on his part. Definitely Bush League, and that's the kind of stuff against your division rival they'll remember next year, right? I mean, that's gonna that's gonna be on the bulletin board all off season going into next year. So there's gonna be some payback, some retribution for that. JT would have cut him. Bo, what do you think about Jameis Winston?
We're talking about the play where they went into victory formation and then ran a touchdown, right?
Right, yeah.
That's like the cheapest shit I've ever seen in my life. Right. You know, I mean, it's literally the formation that everybody calls to say like, hey, we're not doing anything on this play to kneel it, right? And I know like that's kind of the name of the game is to hide that stuff, but there's one formation that's for that, right? And it's like to solidify good game. This is over, and I just felt it was like a cheap shot. Poor sportsmanship on their part. I mean, that's plain and simple. Kind of unnecessary.
So the only devil's advocate argument that I've heard is that it's a hated division rival. Like if we did it to the Raiders, it'd be kind of funny, right?
Yeah,
I wouldn't advocate for it, right? But you know,
it's one thing to do like the snow globe play or like a behind the back pass that we haven't seen I still hope we never see, but to do the victory formation fake, that's, I don't know, that's way different than the Dan Marino spike and then they throws it to Irvin in the end zone. That to me is a whole different situation. Game's still on the line, right? This is we're done. Right? And just unnecessary. Just,
when they do it again and they have someone jump over the line into the quarterback or something, you know what I mean? Be like, well, we don't know what you're gonna do. I mean, I don't know. I don't feel good about it. I'm not arguing for it, but that was the only thing.
It definitely lines that up.
People that were like, yeah, well, I mean, you know, screw the Falcons. we hate them anyway.
Are the Falcons and the Saints really like a heated rivalry? I mean, when you think of like the top rivalries in the NFL, I don't think Saints Falcons. And of course, I'm not an NFC South fan. Maybe our man JT could help us out there. Is that a big thing between the Saints and the Falcons? I mean, Green Bay, Minnesota,
I remember it.
Chiefs, Raiders.
I remember it being really big, dude. When like Vic was down there and like Drew Brees and like, I remember some heated games down there.
Yeah. So, no, I think James probably. I don't know if I'm going to say he got himself blackballed from the league, but I don't see him getting a lot of serious looks, especially not as a starter anytime soon. After that, let's talk about this game coming up here. The game this last week against the Chargers. Kind of
there was a game?
Yeah, I mean, there was a game there.
It's a preseason game.
Yeah, it kind of did resemble a preseason game. So what are you guys' overall thoughts before we kind of talk about it? I mean, there's a couple of interesting storylines I thought from that game that we'll get to, but just overall thoughts, Nick?
Yeah, thank God we have Patrick Mahomes playing quarterback.
Yes. Yeah, so, man. Exactly.
That was one of my takeaways was, I mean, that like they just couldn't do anything with Blaine Gabbert. And I know that they had other people start, but and kudos to him. I mean, you could tell he wanted to win. He's doing everything he can. Last drive did it mostly with his legs. But I mean that was just like a very bad offensive performance from both teams in that game is really kind of what my main takeaway was. And you know, We had Mecole Hardman was a bright spot out of that. He had a heck of a game, and he was really the only player that really shined on offense for us. So, I mean, that was a good, takeaway for me, was that he's back and he's ready for this postseason run that we're hopefully about to go on. So,
Yeah.
But I mean, we got the win. 13-12 was the final score, I think. That was
I think somebody predicted that.
No,
nobody predicted
one of the
that.
weirdest football scores I think you'll see. But yeah, I mean, lackluster offensive performance. Mecole Hardman's bright spot. Those are my takeaways.
Yeah, Bo?
My major through line would be is that we are deep on defense, man. I think we played pretty much all of our second and third string. I mean, we saw Chris Jones in there trying to get a sack, and we all know why we're going to get that sack. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But everybody else, pretty much not the starters, and pretty much played their ass off and pretty much played to the caliber that we've known this team to play at this season. All these guys looked really good. It's really nice to know that, like, should one of these guys happen to go down or get hurt, that we have the guys to kind of step up and kind of fill the void right away. Other than that, I'm with Nick. Really lackluster performance on offense. Really glad we have Patrick Mahomes. A grim future if Mahomes ever went down, right? Like, that's kind of what we would have to look forward to. But hey, we're good. We got him. He's healthy, and we're in the playoffs.
Yep, they get the win. You mentioned 13-12. It's like almost like a baseball score. I don't know what you call that, like a high-scoring baseball game. I wanted to win that game still for some reason. I was really rooting for the team there on that final drive after the Chargers went down and kicked the field goal to take the lead 12-10. I was like, come on, do not lose this game. I was getting myself into it there a little bit at the end, but yeah. The defense shined. Offense, not so much. They were able to avoid major injury, which to me was like my biggest overall takeaway from the game.
That's always huge. This late.
The rookie tackle Morris on the left tackle there, he got cussed. He got knocked out. Juwan Taylor went down, and I started having flashbacks to the year where we went to the Super Bowl and we lost both of our tackles in the last 2 or 3 games of the regular season.
Right.
Game. But Taylor, luckily, to his credit as well, his toughness, he came back in and finished it out. It looks like he's going to be available to go. You never know.
He's been at practice all week. There's only one person that didn't practice today, Juana Morris. Everybody else is limited or full participant, so it's good to see.
To be that healthy at this point in the season is definitely an advantage, especially when you look at the Dolphins coming up here. We'll get to that in a minute, but there's definitely teams in a lot worse shape than the Chiefs injury-wise. So,
and we're playing one of them.
Yeah, we're going to be playing one of them. So, a lot was said about Chris Jones playing, risking injury to get his sack for money that he cost himself. He did acknowledge that after the game, which I thought was stand up of the guy to come back and say, man, I wasted and pissed away. He didn't say it like that, but that was the tone, right? It was like, I threw away a lot of money by sitting out, and I was just trying to get that back, and I'm thankful to Coach Reed for letting me, get a chance to get that back. But Travis has a chance to extend his NFL record for a tight end with 8 consecutive 1,000-yard receiving seasons, which I would think would have put him in the club, not just tight ends. I don't think there's more than 3 or 4 guys that have done that, even like wide receivers.
Just a handful.
Unselfish on his part to not go for the record. Now, he did say in classic Travis Kelce fashion, I mean, I've got lots of records, so I don't need to have this one, which he does have lots of record.
And it currently is his record, right? He'd be extending his own record.
That was his other point, too. He's like, well, I mean, it would just be breaking my own record again that I broke.
Yeah, but it's making it that much harder for somebody else to break down the road. Chris Jones playing, did you think that was selfish of him? Yay or no? Yes or no? Nick?
I don't think so. I mean, he had one less game than everybody else. I know that he plays with a knee brace.
Doing, right?
Yeah. So, but I don't fault the guy. It's not like it was like $100,000. And I mean, think about me saying it's not like it was like some small pittance, $100,000. It's $1.25 million, man. Like, so I don't blame him. I know some people were saying, well, the Chiefs should have just given it to him and told him to sit. I take the reverse. I think the Chiefs could have told him, well, like, we're sitting you, you're not playing, right? You had your opportunities to get your sacks and you didn't get it. They let him play, and they let him get it. And I mean, the team, you saw the team and the coaches like react. I mean, even Big Red went over to him. I think that was another takeaway from the game. Right now that I'm thinking back, like that was like a good team moment out of that game where you could see everybody's like rooting for him. There's been so much bad press about him earlier in the year, and what is he doing? And he's at the game, and we lose to the Lions in the home opener after the Super Bowl. All that shit, right? And to see that the teams were still like they're rallying around him here at the end of the year because he got paid. I think that was overall a positive.
Yeah, dude, I completely agree, man. The optics of it sometimes kind of outweigh the whole track record of it. I feel in the sense that I'm with you, Scott. Right, like it was his own doing. Should have sat, like risk injury. You're in the playoffs. The Chiefs could have taken that route, but I think it would have looked more selfish if he sat instead of going. I mean, it's an incentive based contract. He knew he hadn't met all of his incentives, and he made such a big deal about it this year. And so going out there and getting it, I feel like really showed those guys like, yeah, you got to put in that extra effort to get the big bucks, right? And it, as Nick was pointing out, the whole team was behind him. Like, talk about a rallying moment. Chris Jones was so excited. I saw in Next Gen Stats when he was running off the field waving his arms. That was the second fastest he's ever ran on the field ever in his life, dude. So I mean, he was about it, man. Kudos to him. $1.25 million. I think I would be running just as fast if I had won that off of. I mean, he barely sacked the guy. He just kind of put his hand on him and rolled over him like, hey, that's an easy million right there.
The old Brett Favre, was a Michael Strahan sack.
But from like the team management perspective, right, it was a little aggravating just watching him, all of his antics at the beginning, as Nick was pointing out. Watching him sit between his agents. We were even talking about, like, is he just getting bad advice? What's he doing? He's losing out money. He's really not making any money at this point. And hats off to him for actually acknowledging that and recognizing it. I think the team recognizes it, and as Nick said, it's a huge team moment when we really need it going into the playoffs.
There's no way the Chiefs were just going to pay him that after he sat out, and the way he kind of like, I don't know, him and his agents acted and behaved and talked in the offseason and then sitting out the initial game. There's no way the Chiefs were going to pay him the bonus without getting the sacks. And also, I feel like it would have set a bad precedent. Now, if he wouldn't have sat out and he needed to get that sack to get $1 million and he had played week one and played all the previous games, I think the Chiefs probably would have paid it to him and said, look, like, you're not playing. You're too valuable to the team in the postseason, so we're going to pay it to you because we're not giving you the opportunity to go out there and earn it. But he cost himself the opportunity to earn it by missing the first game of the year and when reworking his deal as late as he did. So I don't think the Chiefs are going to do that because I think there was probably a little bit of I don't want to say bad blood, but I don't think he curried any favor from the ownership and the management in the front office. The coaches and the players in the front office are two separate entities. I know they work together.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you Andy Reid was a lot less upset about it than Clark Hunt and Brett Veach and some of the folks there in ownership in the front office were.
Yeah, I think both sides are completely understandable.
Look, it was selfish of him to go out there and risk injury to get the bonus, the money. Do I begrudge the guy? Do I think he's a bad guy? No. But, I mean, it was a selfish move. If he would have blown out his knee and wasn't able to play this weekend or like something would have happened where he would have missed the entire playoffs, I guarantee you everybody wouldn't have been talking about like, I was so great. He cost himself and he hurt the team because he's selfish. So it was a selfish move. It didn't backfire on him. He got his money and the team had a feel-good moment. So all's well that ends well, I guess. I also think maybe that helps the Chiefs negotiating with him to get a long-term deal to stay in Kansas City. They can go to the guy and say, look, man, you got bad advice. You took bad advice. That's the other thing I saw a lot of people saying is, he got bad advice from his agents. I mean, just because you get bad advice doesn't mean you have to take
That's
it.
true. That's also very true.
So I think that Chiefs can go to him in the offseason and say, hey, man, like, you kind of made this thing ugly. We offered you what we thought was a good offer. You sat out. You kind of made it into a spectacle. And we still let you go out there and get a chance to earn your money and get paid. I think the price tag has dropped on Chris Jones this year.
Maybe, but he still isn't cheap. You know what I mean? I don't think he
didn't
dropped
have
that
He
much.
didn't have a typical Chris Jones year, though. I know he got to.
You're right. He was promising Defensive Player of the Year and all this stuff, right? And that's kind of money you commend for those.
He was a lot better last year than he was this year. I mean, if you were going to try and get a big payday, doing it after last year as opposed to this year was the way. But I guess he did try to do
Season
that.
isn't over yet, is all I'll say.
That's true. Season's
That's
not
a great
point. Playoffs aren't over, but yeah. Chiefs win. They are
rock on, red season.
We're in.
There you go, red season. Good to see you. Appreciate you swinging by. Yeah, I'd love to find a way to keep both of them there, red season. I think you can work it around with the cap increasing and maybe Chris getting some, you bought some goodwill with Chris Jones by letting him play and get that $1 million. And maybe the price tag's dropped a little bit on him after the holdout and after, I'm going to say a down year from him. I mean, that's like
10.5 sacks, right?
He didn't throw
most batted passes
or something. So maybe you can work out a thing where you tell Jerry Sneed, look, we'll franchise tag you next year. You're going to make top 3 or 4 money. Get Chris Jones a deal that pays him heavy in these first couple of years. Then you can work a deal, backload it with Sneed maybe a little bit. I think there's ways that they can work to keep both guys on the team. I certainly hope that's the case. I really want to get a L'Jarius Sneed jersey too. So if you're watching Veach, make sure you keep him on the team so I can go get the man's jersey.
You could go get one.
But yeah, I mean, playoffs, we're here. It starts this weekend. The NFL playoffs kick off. The Kansas City Chiefs take on the Miami Dolphins at Arrowhead in the wild card round. I refuse to call it the super wild card round. It's one of the dumbest names I've ever heard. It doesn't even flow.
Super duper amazing wild card spectacular round.
There you go, wild card round.
Right, it doesn't roll off the tongue well, but Chiefs, the 3 seed, playing the 6 Dolphins, a rematch of the Frankfurt, Germany game, which obviously the Chiefs won, which is why the game's being played here, basically, right? Because they beat them and had the tiebreaker. So, look, there's a lot of interesting storylines that are going on here. The Cheetah returns to Arrowhead after maybe he felt like he got cheated that opportunity to come back to Arrowhead. He talked about it in the offseason, was looking forward to coming back in and giving us that work.
He's been awfully quiet this week.
He has been awfully quiet this week. That's another thing, too. So before we kind of break down what we think our keys to the game or what the Chiefs need to do to win, fellas, how are we feeling about this game? Bo?
I'm already cold thinking about this game, man.
Cold.
I think the Weather Channel says it's going to be 6 degrees with the wind chill making it down to -9. Hence, my name's over here. Hence my name right there, -9 below. It's we were kind of talking about this before the show started, the difference between a snow game and just a bitterly cold game. And it's supposed to snow the day before, a little maybe in the morning, but I don't think it's going to be a snow game. I think it's just going to be a bitterly cold game. So I don't know how I feel about this game. I mean, it's one of those, if it is just bitterly cold and windy, which I think it is supposed to be, kind of a toss-up. I think we're only 4-point favorites, 3.5-point favorites. I think Vegas is kind of feeling the same way, just sticking with the traditional odds, give 3 to the home team, and just watch this go. It's going to be. I think we're really well matched, though. We were kind of alluding to it earlier, how beat up Miami is right now. I was reading earlier that their entire linebacking core is out. So they're going to all secondary on their linebackers. They got a couple DBs banged up, all limited practice. Tua's been hurt. Tyreek's been hurt. Waddle's been hurt. Mostert's been hurt. I mean, they're all banged up. It's the end of the year. It's playoff football. But they seem to be just a little bit more banged up than we are at this point. So with that in mind, I'm feeling really great about this in that sense that we have a little bit more fresher legs, essentially fresher players out there. But again, I think that coldness will cut any advantage that we think we have.
Right. Injuries don't feel better in the cold either.
That's true.
Nick, how are you feeling about this game? You pretty confident? Are you worried?
I don't know that I feel really confident or really worried, right? I feel good about the game. Look, we've got the experience for this situation on our team. We have a quarterback that has won more playoff or postseason games than all the other starting quarterbacks, I think, combined in the postseason. It may, now that Goff and Stafford are in there, it may be getting close. But, I mean, it's still like Patrick's won 11 and everybody else has won, 11 or less. So we've got that. We've got Big Red as a coach. It's in Arrowhead. It is cold. I know that, they're professional athletes and that doesn't matter as much, but I mean, Tua, like growing up in Hawaii, playing in Miami, doesn't have the experience doing this that the Chiefs have in the postseason at Arrowhead Stadium, right? Last year, we were talking about how cold that Bengals game was last year. I mean, they've been in this situation before. And they're hungry, man. They feel disrespected right now, and I guarantee you that they feel like they have something to prove. So I do feel good about this game. Do I feel like we're going to come in and blow the Dolphins out? No, I just don't think that we're a blowout, teams in the postseason kind of team this year. But I feel like with our defense and everything, like I feel good and about this game.
I feel confident.
Yeah, buddy.
Anytime you got number 15 at quarterback, and Andy Reid is their coach, take Andy Reid over Mike McDaniel any day. It's not necessarily saying anything all that disparaging about Mike McDaniels, but all the things you said. The cold. I heard somewhere the Dolphins are like 0-10 in games below 30 degrees or something like that. Now this coaching staff have only played like
I think I saw that
games, too. But look, a lot of these guys though played in high school or college somewhere where it was cold. I think it's a little bit overblown. People say, "Oh, Miami, they're used to playing in warm weather." I mean, there's guys from all over the country on all these NFL teams, so I think that's a little bit overdone. And not that it isn't a factor, and not that it can't be an advantage for the home team. So like the Chiefs, especially with Tua, like you mentioned, growing up in Hawaii, and he played in Alabama too. So it's not like he played in a lot of cold games in college.
I don't think the cold comes from the history of players, right? I think it's the difference is going to be this week. The Chiefs are practicing in the snow, and the Dolphins aren't.
Right.
Like you're just getting acclimated a little bit more.
Yeah. Man, Dylan bringing us some stats, helping us out here. Appreciate that, Dylan. Good to see you.
I forgot about Flacco. Yeah, Flacco, he's got Super Bowl, right?
Yeah. Joe Flacco.
He's in it too.
We'll get to that when we kind of break down the rest of the playoff field here after we get done talking about this game. So the only thing that slightly concerns me about the game, and especially the weather, is, and it's windy. Patrick Mahomes can throw the ball. We've seen him. I'm a snow game guy. I can spin it in anything. We've seen him air the ball out in cold weather and play really, really well. But to me, the Dolphins' running game is better than the Chiefs' running game.
Sure.
Achane and Mostert are both, I would say, better running backs than Pacheco. Not to say that Pacheco is a bad running back, but maybe the injuries and the guys being banged up a little bit, or maybe more than that, quite a bit on the offensive line, maybe evens that out a little bit. But if this turns into a ground and pound, the two teams are really running the rock between the two, I think maybe that almost might even it up a little bit for the Dolphins.
Sure. We have an atrocious run defense, that's for sure.
Right. Look, I just think especially if Jalen Waddle's hurt. Tyreek Hill, I don't think he's been yapping as much because he doesn't want to give him bulletin board material. But he also hasn't been Tyreek Hill the last 2 or 3 weeks with the injury. He's kind of had the dropsies here a little bit the last couple of weeks. He had a terrible drop against the Ravens 2 weeks ago in that blowout loss that they had where he's wide open in the end zone. He had a drop or two in this game against the Bills.
Crucial drop too.
Doesn't look like he's got quite as much speed or elusiveness as he normally does the last couple of games I happen to watch. Because I watched pretty much every snap of that Ravens game and that Bills game. I don't think he's quite himself either. So I think he's laying low and kind of keeping the comments to a minimum to not give bulletin board material, but also not to like hype up something that he comes out and doesn't perform as well.
He also had to eat humble pie after that last
did.
game, essentially blowing that game and handing us the win.
He's also got a lot of stuff going on in his personal life too. So
yeah,
that's also true.
There's a little bit of turmoil there. So what do you?
You brought up Achan. I didn't even think about it. We didn't even play against. He was hurt last time we faced him, right? So that's a whole nother threat that we think we might have covered that we don't. A guy that has explosive talent, quick, knows where to be, knows how to juke people. And yeah, we don't have really any tape of him against us. So it'd be interesting to go see how they play him. Because like I said, our run defense is just abysmal as it is. I don't know what it's been like. Our defense, for being as good as it is, that's the one weak link, and it kind of got exposed a little bit this season.
Yeah. With the Dolphins being beat up at wide receiver, I think maybe you can take a little bit of emphasis off guarding the pass with the cold weather, and Waddle and Hill suffering from injuries and being nicked up and maybe not being 100%. And you could sell out a little bit more to stop the run.
It's got to be nicked up, huh?
Got to be nicked up. The Chiefs
sounds better than bowed up.
I like the Chiefs defense. The strength of the team this year, the stronger unit going up against a beat-up Miami Dolphins offense that has not been themselves at all the last handful.
I'm liking that.
So that bodes well for the Chiefs. The Dolphins defense, if you watch them, they got sliced and diced by the Ravens. The Bills, while they didn't score a lot of points because Josh Allen went all Josh Allen and was a turnover machine, they moved the ball against the Dolphins. So I think that helps us out on our weak end of the ball. And I also think our strength matches up against their strength, maybe being a little bit inhibited. What do you guys think about, our defense going against their offense against our defense?
No, yeah, like I was saying, I think their whole linebacking core is out. And so, like, I really feel like that's kind of the break we needed, especially kind of if we're going to do a deep playoff run, Super Bowl run. Get these receivers some confident reps against a good team. I think right now the more reps we can get into these receivers' hands, the better for us. The more we can get these guys catching balls in a game over the middle, the better it's going to serve us in the long run. I feel like we've talked about it all season. That's our big elephant in the room, is our receiving core not being able to really secure the ball at 100% or at a rate we would like to see. And I think it's going to be a good game to kind of overcome that.
Nick?
For me, our offense versus their defense, it's red zone performance. And Patrick's going to maybe need to take some chances to get in the end zone when other things ain't working. I mean, if you look at it, like, his rushing touchdowns are way down this year. And that's been, I think, one of the major struggles that we've had is we've been missing those points from him scoring those touchdowns. So you see it every year. He kind of is pretty protective of himself, thankfully, right? That's what I want during the regular season. I want him to be sliding. I don't want him to be taking risks. When there's no tomorrow if you lose, right? There's no game next week if you lose. Like, now it's time to take some risks. And so I think that seeing Patrick, when the plays aren't going right at the red zone, just take the game into your own hands, man. Just get in there and get the touchdown. I think for me, that's the big one, because our offense has been able to move the ball against most defenses all year. It's just like when we get to inside the 10-yard line, it's like we are hitting a brick wall. So for me, that's the big one there. Yeah, I mean, I was going to bring up their rushing game. You've already kind of covered that. So I'm going to say make Tua uncomfortable and get him off his spot, right? We know that he doesn't perform well in cold weather. Maybe some of that is just, the teams that he played. I mean, he's playing Buffalo in a lot of those cold weather games. So Buffalo's a pretty good team. So maybe it's skewed a little bit, but he's a guy that really is more of like a pocket, like a true pocket passer. So make him uncomfortable, get him off his spot. And I think that, try to make them beat us running the ball, right? Like I'd rather try to stop HN from getting 5 or 6 yards of carry than Tyreek Hill busting 60-yard touchdowns on us. So for me, those are the two things there. Just use that cold weather to your advantage and really bully them on offense with our defense.
I think you're going to see a healthy Travis Kelce or a healthier Travis Kelce for the first time in a long time.
Definitely.
Season. I think that helps the red zone production. Dylan's bringing up Hardman. Hardman got 11 targets in that game against the Chargers this last weekend.
Yeah, what a great time to boost his confidence, right?
Yeah.
I know it was a game that didn't matter, but he's coming in late to the season anyway, and you get him that many reps.
God, I would love for Hardman to have a great game.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a little worried, though, about – I mean, one of my biggest concerns, and Big Doug was talking about it. Props, by the way, to Big Doug for winning the CKL Pick'em League this year. I forgot.
Hey-o. Nice. Congratulations,
Big Doug wins the inaugural CKL Pick'em League by one game, too. Came down to the wire, and Big Doug picks up the win. So way to go there. But it bothers me that MVS didn't play at all in that Chargers game.
Yeah.
He's sitting with the starters. Are they going to try and force him to be a focal point in this game? 0-degree weather is not the time to be trying to remedy and relearn how to catch the football in the passing game, man. With that said, he'll probably go out and have an AFC Championship game performance and have 9 catches for 170 yards or some crazy ridiculous.
Or just some crucial clutch catch, and you're just like, oh shit, it's him.
That does worry me a little bit that they rested that guy. They felt the need to not give him snaps. And maybe they were giving other guys snaps because maybe they're not going to ride him into the playoffs, and they wanted to see what they had with Ross and Hardman and some of these other guys. But that makes me a little bit nervous. But really, outside of that, I mean,
it's really – oh, sorry.
Oh, no, yeah, go ahead. You're good.
I was going to say, it's really reminiscent of, like, the CEH stuff that we saw, right? Even though, like, the three of us have not given up on him, but have definitely seen the lack of productivity from this guy. I don't think Chiefs and the coaching staff have given up on him the way we have, and I think that's pretty telling by them sitting him.
Yeah. I see our man Supply Chain's in the house. Hey, we need your contact info, Supply Chain.
Oh yeah, you want a prize,
giveaways, dog.
Yep.
So we just need your social security number, your credit card number, date of birth.
Listen to Bo. We just need your social security number.
Yeah. So make sure you email us. Can we get the Chiefs Kingdom Live or DM us on Twitter if you can find us there some way? Yeah. I'm pretty sure Travis is Supply Chain, right?
Yep. Hold on, I got it right here.
Throw up the Chiefs Kingdom Live email address on the bottom there for
you got a Super Bowl champions koozie. You won a Chiefs Kingdom flag with the Super Bowl champions logo. You got a sticker, and you got some Squeal, the Squeal barbecue seasoning. So
yep. Yeah. So
let's see. There it is.
The little ticker there. Let's get the email address going so Supply Chain can shoot us his contact info so we can ship you out your goods. Man, we want to make sure we get all the winners their stuff. We started to send that out this week. It's been a little tricky trying to coordinate with the three of us on our schedules. And Bo's got some of the stuff, and I got some of the stuff, and Nick's got some of the stuff, and I've got some of the shipping addresses on Twitter and X, and Bo's got some of them on Facebook, and Nick's got some of the prizes. So we're working that out.
We run a real tight ship over here, if you can't tell.
If you want a prize, you are going to get
real
a prize.
Professional.
Guaranteed 100% if you won something, you will get it. It's just taking us a little bit of time to get it out there. So
we are not Amazon. Please do not expect it within next day or 2 days. It'll take a little bit.
Right. Yeah. It's also free, which Amazon, you got to pay. Kills me. People say, oh, you got free shipping with Amazon. No, you pay $150 a year for shipping with Amazon. Anyway, back to this Chiefs-Dolphins game. I saw somewhere, and there was a John C. that said Justin Houston is a traitor. The Dolphins signed listen, if you're in a position where you need to sign Justin Houston for the playoffs, you're in bad shape.
They're in bad shape. They don't have any linebackers. They all got hurt.
I'd rather have D Ford than, or I'm sorry, not D Ford. I'd rather have Frank Clark than Justin Houston at this point.
Right.
What's up with Frank Clark, dude? I had so many cryptic texts by like Stone
Yeah,
Cold, like blood in the water. Get
He's
Frank
been saying
back.
that. He was saying that all off season, and he's been tweeting and saying stuff to. That's his
He's so
dog,
cool.
man. That's his homie. He wants him on the team. They can't even get the first round draft pick on the field last year, on the field this year supposedly because they're so deep at defensive line. I just don't see that happening. Nothing would thrill me more than to see Frank Clark out there
That'd be
and
awesome.
playoff Shark out there circling the quarterback and smelling blood in the water. I would love it, but
Chris
I
Jones
just don't.
tweets get me so excited. Just like, oh, is this a possibility?
Yeah,
Let's go.
I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
This has kind of been discussed too all off season. This idea that the Chiefs are holding back plays and kind of holding back and not taking the regular season seriously. And now that it's playoff time, you're going to see a more focused team, and they're going to kind of take the training wheels off, or they're going to get deeper into the bag of tricks and the playbook there. We put a post out on X. Like, Rich Eisen talked about this. The Chiefs, would you bet on them flipping a switch or not flipping a switch? I feel super confident in this team, and really nothing from the regular season has any. That's not like based any kind of logic after the way the team performed on offense, in particular with the mistakes and the turnovers and the penalties and the drops. That's the other poll.
Oh, that's not what you're going for?
Just way to go, Bo.
No, that's all right. We'll get to that here. I feel like my level of confidence in the team in this postseason, especially the offense, isn't based on any kind of like logic or reason or evidence from the regular season. But I just, man, like Patrick Mahomes, those guys, I feel like it's go time and those guys know it, and you're going to see a better offense from the team. Do you guys agree with me? Do you feel the same way? People in the chat, what do you think? Again, I know it's pretty irrational.
Dude, I've felt that way since
they played for 18 weeks, but
I felt that way since the Bears game, man. Just like, oh,
right.
Here we go. They did it. Next week. Just wait till next week. But yeah, I'm super hopeful again this week. I mean, all of our guys are fresh. All the guys that I thought were banged up seem to have practiced today. Mahomes is talking the same way that you're talking. Like, this is going to be one of the better offensive performances we've had all year. There's no reason for it not to be either. With the depleted defense that they have, I really hope this is that week that our offense decides to flick that light switch on and show everybody like, hey, we're not the typical third seed that everybody's ranking us here down and giving us plus 1,000 odds to win the Super Bowl now. Like, we're a contender, and don't forget we have this guy. We have this guy right here, number 15. I think, a lot of this show we don't give Patrick Mahomes as much accolades as like the rest of the press does, because it's almost just a given, right? And so like we try to highlight a lot of other players because it's just standard. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes, good, right? Like, what else are you going to say about the guy? He's like the best to ever play the game. But a lot of that's just been falling on deaf ears this past week. Everybody thinks we're broken. Everybody thinks this guy's forgotten how to play football. They think the drops are on him when he's hitting receivers in the hands, the face mask, the numbers. This guy knows how to play. And like Nick said, it's that time where, it's no holds bar. We're going to see Mahomes start to scramble. We're going to see him do Mahomes things.
Right. I almost feel like this show, we do more defending and building up of Patrick than the other people do. I don't know.
I'm just saying we don't constantly ride on him, right? Like, we try to highlight other players because, like I said, it's just a given how good he is.
Yeah. Nick, were the Chiefs holding back in the regular season? Do you expect them to, whether that's based on any kind of, like I said, evidence or logic or reasoning based on how they played in the regular season? Or no, do you think you kind of see the same offense you saw all regular season?
So do you we could have got the 2 or the 1 seed and we chose to get the 3 seed to hold all the plays back? I don't put much stock into that, right? Like, look, do they maybe have some concepts that they've been building on? Like, I think that the way that you see Andy Reid do things is they'll they'll use looks, right, and then they'll establish patterns, and then in the postseason maybe they'll break some of those patterns, and you'll see them do some things out of formations that maybe you haven't seen them do before. But I don't think that's like the base offense. I think that may be like one or two plays that you see them do something like that in key moments. I think the offense is what it is, right? And it's not even necessarily just like a terrible offense. They move the ball. I mean, Patrick Mahomes had going into the last game where he sat out the most yards. Like I said earlier, it's just really like the red zone performance. So it's no worries, man. We appreciate everybody that won. We just appreciate y'all watching, supporting our show. John, I see you offered to pay for some postage. It's more of like a time thing why we haven't got some of this stuff out. It's not a money thing, but we appreciate it. We love that you guys come and watch and chat, and it's just a good time for us every week. So we just appreciate you guys. We're happy to have some giveaways. But yeah, I don't necessarily think that it's like the Chiefs were holding back all the good stuff for the postseason. There may be a few plays that they have that they haven't used yet, but I think
Just
it's more
to watch.
like I said, the red zone performance and like people dropping the freaking ball, man, like just not catching the ball or fumbling it in opportune times.
That's kind of like 2 points that I was getting at, was people thinking the Chiefs were holding back, but also like that they weren't as focused or they weren't as attentive. And now that it's the playoffs, you're going to see them lock in and not make the mistakes, the drops, the turnovers, the penalties. What do you think about that? I mean, do you think that gets cleaned up overnight for the postseason or no?
So I think that maybe they'll focus on specific players as opposed to maybe shuffling as many people in and out, and you'll see them key in and not have like this carousel at wide receiver. At least that's what I'm hoping. You've seen Rice have a couple of clean games here now, and he's doing well. You saw Mecole Hardman. I would expect that you're going to see them kind of key in on a couple of guys that they know can perform. And see how it goes. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Do they flip a switch? That's a different question. What that means is, do they like quit making dumb mistakes, which is what's cost them several games this year?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good question. I don't know that I have an answer to that's satisfying, but yeah, I mean, I think that the leadership and the experience on this team tells me yes, because we were in a, not the same, but, and not as bad of a situation, but we were in a similar situation last year where the Chiefs were making mistakes and they had turnovers, and we had that turnover against the Travis Kelce fumbled against the Bengals, right? I mean, we forget some of this stuff because we won the Super Bowl, but we had a weird situation that got us the 1 seed last year, or we're looking at the 2 or the 3 seed last year. Now we won a lot more games, but I think that this team does have the experience to do that. Yes. Will they do it? I'm like 70% sure they will not have those types of mistakes in the postseason this year.
Yeah, dude, I completely agree. I think all the pieces are in place to have that switch be flicked, right? Can they ride off the momentum of that Chris Jones sack that we were talking about? The team rallied around that. Can they come in and keep that momentum going? We've already talked about this cold game. Like, this is a great game for that focus to come, right? Like, you got to make sure you're securing that ball. And like, that's been one of our biggest problems, just securing the ball. And so like, I feel like that should be a huge point of emphasis for this game, especially. It's going to be cold. It might be wet, but it's definitely going to be a different ball that you're catching than normal. So like, really hands, focus on bringing it in and then turn up field, right? So like, it's the right game to have that focus put into place on the guys who need it. Just because you need to, just to have a successful outcome in the type of weather that they're going to be playing in. So I think it's there. I think we can do it.
You want to get to the poll, or do you want to do a score prediction and then do the poll? What do you guys want to do here?
Yeah, let's do the poll. I brought it up once already, kind of teased everybody. Let's do
this week's CKL poll. I just wanted to gauge the temperature. We wanted to get a feel, get a thumb on the pulse of Chiefs Kingdom and how they're feeling about this playoff and the run. How far do the Chiefs make it this postseason? They've won the Super Bowl as a 1 seed and a 2 seed. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, maybe he just wanted to be a 3 seed so he could win it as the 1, 2, and the 3. I don't know, but know what? I haven't won a road playoff game or won the Super Bowl as a seed lower than the 2. Maybe I'll just check those boxes off this year.
What's that? What does all the media have negative to say about me? Oh, these 2 things. Let's just go ahead and check those off the list.
Got 281 votes, so quite a few people weighed in. I was a little surprised by how optimistic. I figured it would stair step like that they would go wild card, divisional, AFC, Super Bowl in that order. But I thought maybe the divisional round and the championship game would get a few more votes, and Super Bowl would get a few less, just because of the way the offense had kind of struggled. And Chiefs, they did win their final. They won the last game of the season against the Chargers and the Bengals, the last 2 there to wrap up the division. But they had lost 4 or 5 or 5 of 6 coming down the stretch before that. So, what do you guys think? How far do the Chiefs go this year in playoffs? Bo?
We're going, baby. I already bought my Super Bowl tickets.
That's what I said.
We're going, though. That's what I voted. Dude, okay, so I was talking with a friend in Albuquerque preseason, and he put me on speakerphone with his kid who's in his early 20s, and his kid is a Dallas fan, asked me, what are the Chiefs doing this year? Same answer. We're going to the Super Bowl. And his first question to me was like, who are you going to throw to, right? I said, the same receivers we threw to last year. And he's like, and he had a good point, but dude, we had the same team. Different names, no real all-stars. There's no reason for us not to repeat. I like our chances to go. I voted Super Bowl. Nick?
I voted Super Bowl too, man. Let me get the comment off my face here so people can see me. Yeah, I voted Super Bowl.
No, put the comment back up.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that looks better. Looks ugly now. Yeah, no. So, have you ever seen that movie Signs? Where they're he had the longest home run, but he also struck out, and he's like, it felt wrong not to swing. That's like when I was looking at that poll, it just felt wrong not to say that we were going to the Super Bowl. So, so that's what I voted. And I after saying I'm not really confident in this upcoming, overly confident in this upcoming game, it might seem weird, but I just postseason's about experience. It's about quarterbacks and it's about head coaches. And we've got the best of both of those that is in the playoff field, in my opinion. So,
right. Yeah, look, I've picked this team to go to the Super Bowl the last 4 years, and I was right 3 out of time. I was right 3 times and wrong once, so I don't see any reason to change. And I don't want, especially we've had a lot of new viewers here the last few weeks. I don't want people, and if anybody that knows me, especially Nick and Bo, will attest to this, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not some Chiefs homer that just is going to always cheerlead for the team and have the red and gold glasses on all the time and ignore the flaws and buy into everything that they're doing. There's been plenty of years in my life where I did not pick the Chiefs to win the playoff game, right? There was plenty of years. What was it, the year that, and all apologies to Herm Edwards in advance if he ever watches this show, but the year they backed into the playoffs where they needed 4 teams to lose and they needed to win to get in, and they did. I was like, there's no fucking way the Chiefs are winning this playoff game. I
bought a lottery ticket that day.
Games before. I just cannot sit there with Patrick Mahomes as a quarterback of this team and pick them to lose to anybody. Look at the AFC playoff field. The Ravens, Lamar Jackson, 1 career playoff win. The Bills, they got smoked in Buffalo by the Bengals last year. They're not invincible. Josh Allen is turnover machine. The Chiefs have sent them home 2 of the last 3 years in the playoffs. That team can be beaten. They were a punt return away from going to overtime with the Dolphins last week.
Right.
The Chiefs already beat the Dolphins. They're banged up. Our strength, our defense, it matches up well with their strength, and I feel like our offense can kind of exploit a bad defense on their end. I think the matchup is good. We're at home. Look, I just don't – Chiefs, I feel like they just have just as good a chance as any. Maybe not the Ravens, because the Ravens have the bye, and so they have to win 1 less game, right? It's a lot easier to win 2 games in the postseason than it is 3 to go to the Super Bowl, but
I don't know. Lamar
Right.
Jackson's only won one, so in his
Right. That's
career.
what that's what I just said. I mentioned the one playoff win, and they lost at home to the Chargers in the playoffs a couple of years ago. What's that say about them? The Chiefs have played the Ravens tough. Outside of Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumbling the ball in field goal range in Baltimore, was that last year, right? Last season? The Chiefs would have won 4 or 5 or 6 straight against that team. They can beat the Ravens. This idea that the Chiefs have no chance, to me, they have just as good a chance as anybody else in the AFC.
Yeah, completely. I don't think there's like a true juggernaut this year that you're just like, oh, this team's the dominant one, and any team can be beatable. The Bills, especially, was one of the. I laughed when you mentioned them because it's their offense has just been getting so incredibly lucky, like by winning, or just getting points. The way they're getting points is just so incredibly lucky. I'm going to put it that way. They're winning games, credit to them. But man, I was at the game where Travis Kelce lateraled it to Tony for 35 yards across the field, and they scored. Dude, we beat them. We beat them. It was the wackest call that brought that play back and ended up kind of changing the momentum of that whole game. But this game last weekend against the Dolphins, like Josh Allen, their first touchdown should have been an interception. I'm sorry. That ball went 30 feet in the air and somehow his guy comes down with it. That on top of three other just ridiculous turnovers by that guy. But according to Chris Collinsworth, that was the game of his life. It was just so interesting to see the public's take on the Bills, especially this team barely made the play. I mean, they got the 2 seed by just the weirdest circumstances ever. Miami pretty much just said, here you go. We don't want this 2 seed. You guys can have it. Just a fascinating team there. But to your point, everybody in the West, I think we got the Browns. The Browns are kind of an anomaly, right? I don't know what to make of them with Joe Flacco at the helm, other than you just got to look at the past and look at Joe Flacco's history. He's done all right, but aging quarterback, and you look at his last couple of years, there's a reason he's not a starter anymore.
The Browns also played. You could say that maybe this evens out because they played in one of the toughest divisions in football, if not all of football, the AFC North. They have 3 playoff teams, right, in that division: the Ravens, the Browns, and the Steelers. But the Steelers are the 7 seed, so that's not a real playoff team as far as I'm concerned. And they played a 3rd or 4th place schedule this year. I'm going to tell you right now. I think if the Chiefs make the Super Bowl, the path is Dolphins at home, beat the Bills on the road in the divisional round, and then the Browns take down the Ravens in the second round, and then the Chiefs get the AFC Championship game at home against the Browns.
Ooh.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
I think if it happens, I think that's the way it happens. Look, the Browns playing the Ravens. That's a division opponent. They beat the Ravens in Baltimore this year, or earlier in the season.
Bills got
that
Pittsburgh,
lines up good against that offense of the Ravens. Lamar Jackson. It's one of those things where what would Patrick say? I'll see it when I believe it. That he's gonna take that team to a Super Bowl. The path is there. The chances are there. Patrick Mahomes, to tell the Chiefs had a better road record than they did a home record this year. And if you look at Patrick Mahomes' career, it's almost even number of wins on the road and at home. So,
do you guys remember when we sacked Joe Flacco 8 times in a game?
Yeah, I think it was 7, wasn't it?
It was 8.
It was 8?
8 times, yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking of Derek Thomas having 7 sacks in a game. That's
no. That was when he was with the
8 times.
And so, I don't know. So the Browns don't worry me, I guess, with Joe Flacco quarterback, because our defense now is way better than it was back then. So,
I mean, he's having a hell of a run, but there's a reason he's just not there anymore. I mean, we'll see it. You'll see it.
Right.
But their defense is legit, right? I mean, Red Season is right. I mean, the Browns defense is very good. So.
Yeah, Steelers could beat the Bills. I don't think that's really going to happen.
Not with TJ Watt out. I don't see that happening.
Look, I think the Chiefs are going to have to go on the road and beat Buffalo if they want to go back to the Super Bowl. But they've done that. They've beaten the Bills in the playoffs plenty of times. Joe Flacco, he was the quarterback in the game where we had Todd Haley as the coach, right? Was that Joe Flacco that year? We lost to the Ravens at home. In the
Yeah, I think
card
you're
round.
right.
That was the year we were
Yeah, I think so.
10-6 and won the week AFC West. And
Yeah,
Todd Haley
good
decided
memories.
to run Jamal Charles 8 times in the game, even though he was averaging like 9 yards a carry.
Right. Dang, yeah.
What was that? Thomas Jones was the other running back that he was in love with. It was the veteran. And he's a veteran, and he's going to get most of the carries. Bro, if you watch Jamal Charles run the ball? So how long ago was that? 13 years ago? I mean, Joe Flacco was quarterbacking that team then, right? So I think the Browns have a weak link at quarterback. I know Joe Flacco, it's been a fun story. But
Yeah.
this Chiefs defense, especially with the defensive line and the way the Chiefs pressure the quarterback and sack the quarterback, they should be able to rattle Joe Flacco. Browns coming to Arrowhead, I'd take that all day.
All day.
For the chance to go to the Super Bowl. Sign me up for that right now.
Yeah, it's a
Make some bets,
3-seed
Nico.
AFC Championship game at home. I mean, the football gods have been kind to you, right?
Been kind to us. That's one of the other things too. Is like Chiefs have had good fortune shining down on them for the last 5 years. Why is it going to change now? I mean, I don't know. So let's do some score predictions for this Miami wild card game, and then we'll maybe talk about some other playoff games, maybe some other matchups, and see how we feel about those. Who wants to go first? And make sure if you're watching in the chat, you throw down your score prediction. Nick, Bo, when you guys want to go
I'll
first?
go. Yeah, I'm gonna pick Chiefs to win 21-13.
8-point win. That's a solid win. A little nerve-wracking there, especially if the Dolphins have the last possession there, fending off a comeback drive there and 2-point conversion. 21-13, huh?
I like it. Yeah, dude, like just because of a lot of the reasons we mentioned tonight, the depleted defense, the team rallying behind a player finally, just that like all the pieces are right there for a spark to change. I'm going to say we score over 21 points. I'm going to say we get 28 and they're going to get 17. It's never going to be a close game. They'll get some points, but I think it's going to be us from start to finish. Cold weather, pound and ground. Isaiah Pacheco is going to get the ball a lot. Him and CEH, I imagine CEH will actually get. I can see them splitting the load pretty evenly this game, just being a really heavy ground game for us. But yeah, I can see us kind of using that to our advantage, taking advantage over linebackers biting on the run and hitting a couple shots over in the air. And yeah, 28. What did I say? 28-17.
I'm going 26-13. Double them up.
There we go.
I like that.
26-13 in Arrowhead. Dylan's on record. He's got 24-21. Good score predictions in here. Kevin, I saw 23-14.
Yeah, we had a few in here that I already thrown up. Red Season 17-16. Big Doug. Big Doug. He's got a good score there, 21-13.
Same as what you picked, right?
That's exactly what I picked. That's why I like it. We got Brenda 17-13. So yeah, man.
Feeling good.
Feeling good.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. I like.
There we
like
go,
that. I'll take
John C.
that. Dude, 24-3 would be.
I will.
Stellar.
I will screenshot Mike McDaniel's face when they put that final score up, and you just see him in his glasses. 24-3.
24-3. We'll take it. Chiefs got some playoff payback too, right? You go back to the longest game in NFL history was the Chiefs Dolphins. That was a playoff game. I want to say the Chiefs lost to the Dolphins when Dan Marino was the quarterback of that team in a wild card round team. So the Chiefs got some payback coming too. Looks like Kathy's in here, 2017 Chiefs. Good to see you, Kathy. Thanks for coming by.
That Dan Marino game was
We got Laney.
Joe Montana was the quarterback for us.
22-10 Chiefs, Laney. Your brother was probably still a Dolphins fan at that point, wasn't he, Bo?
I think he still was.
It's cold-blooded Scott.
Is he excited about the game this week? I mean, is he Is he getting his
I've
old
heard-
Bob
I've
Greasy
heard-
cards out and dusting off the old hats and jerseys? Or
I've heard from numerous Broncos fans that they're not watching football this year. So
yeah. They might not
I
wanna
know what
watch-
you're saying.
They
I
might
know
not
what you're
wanna
saying.
watch.
Though.
They might not
we
wanna
appreciate
watch
you. Thanks for
football
watching, Kathy. Welcome.
They
I'm sure we know who he's pulling for, though. I'm sure he's not
Broncos.
going for the Chiefs.
Broncos fans might not want to watch football for a few years. So let's talk about the rest of these playoffs a little bit before we get out of here. So there's some interesting like matchups. I don't know, NFC, AFC, the Rams going to Detroit, and Matthew Stafford facing off against Jared Goff against their what was that Face Off, that movie or whatever, where they traded they traded faces or trading places, right? Matthew Stafford's going back to Detroit in the playoffs, returning as a Super Bowl champion. You got the Cowboys taking on the Packers, which is like an old school NFC rivalry, like back in the day when they had Roger Staubach and Bart Starr and some of those like old school 60s and 70s.
Who do you got in that game?
Retro.
Are you expecting the Cowboys to just wallop the Packers, or you think the Packers, with their run that they had at the end of this season, actually put up a fighting chance?
Yeah, I think the Cowboys at home are pretty tough to beat. CeeDee Lamb is a fucking
He's so good.
dog. As Pat
He's so
McAfee
good.
guys say, right? He's a dog. So good. He was first team All Pro with Tyreek Hill. I think the Cowboys win that game. What do you guys think? Any of these other matchups you're intrigued about, or any storylines that you see that you like, Nick?
Storyline that I would like would be the Steelers going in and beating the Bills. I mean, that's a good storyline. No, look, I for me the Lions and the Rams is probably the most intriguing, because there's like the Lions have never won their division. They won it for the first time. They haven't had a playoff game there in 30 years. And then the guy that's coming into town is the guy that, really should have done all those things for you when he played there, but then he was traded and went and won a Super Bowl. So for me, that's the most intriguing. It's going to be interesting to see how the Lions handle that. I mean, I'm rooting hard for them to win that game. It would just be tough to see the Lions just lose to the guy that you traded away, right?
That'd be brutal.
Yeah, I mean, just we were never as bad as the Lions as a franchise, but we went over 20 years without a playoff win. We know what it's like, right?
All the time.
I mean, we went a generation without winning a playoff game, essentially. So I'm just rooting for them. For me, that's the big storyline. Jordan Love getting his team into the postseason after looking like, I mean, embarrassingly bad in a couple of situations, right? Where just
his first year as a starter was not.
Yeah, just so that's a good storyline. And like you said, just that being like an old school NFL football game. That's a NFL playoff game, right?
Right, retro.
Yeah, so those are the two that I think I'm most excited about outside of the Chiefs game.
Yeah,
I'm actually stoked for that Philly game, that Philly Tampa game.
Yeah, let's say Red Season just brought Eagles one and done, maybe.
Yeah, maybe, right? Like
Baker Mayfield.
They had such a hot start. I mean, what did they go? 11-1, 10-1, or something like that, and then just lost 6 straight or something, or 5 out of the last 6.
Yeah, and they should have lost to us. So we should have beat them if number 11 could catch the damn ball.
Right. So I'm really curious to see where they stand as a whole, as a team. Are they the team that's falling off? Are they done, or are they?
Jalen Hurts has come back to earth this last half of this season.
Right, but I've also noticed Jalen Hurts was injured for the majority of the second half of that season. He wore a big ass knee brace, and I feel like he, a la Kirk Cousins last year, might have been playing with a broken rib all year. I mean, he always seems to kind of like adjust his pad right here. And then obviously that huge brace is unmistakable.
Really smash him into 1,000 pounds of people pushing against him. 14.
Yeah, so that probably had nothing to do with it. But then I'm also with Nick. I have a buddy back in Albuquerque who's a huge Lions fan. He's been a Lions fan his whole life. He has family from back there, and he has a tattoo. I mean, talk about dedicated Lions fans for, never really pulling off a victory.
Right.
I got my tattoo after our victory. So shout out to Lambeau and the Lions. I'm pulling for you guys. So those are the two games I'm really looking forward to.
I'm rooting for the Rams in that game because I want to see the Rams play the 49ers in the playoffs this year. I think the 49ers, I think all those faithful to the Bay folks and that team better hope the Lions or somebody else takes care of the Rams for them, because that's not a game those guys want to play, I don't think. I'm intrigued to watch this Browns-Texans game, man. Like, two teams that anybody on this show pick either of those two teams to make the playoffs this year? I know.
Who's going to win that? I didn't. No way.
Um,
Nico at the locker room rant sure as hell did, and I was laughing at him the first couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Hats off to him for that prediction.
That's an interesting game. CJ Stroud, the rookie, who's looked really good this year, playing a sneaky Browns team that won. How many games they win this year? 10 or 11 games.
Yeah,
I think a wild card because they had the unfortunate circumstance of being in the same division as the Ravens. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that game. I want to see who wins that. I mean, I think the Browns probably take that game. Actually, I don't know that Houston. I'm not gonna say they struggled to beat the Colts, but the Colts had the ball with a chance to go down and take that game at the end. So.
You use the word sneaky, dude. That's the way I feel about the Texans. They're sneakily good. I had CJ Stroud on my fantasy team, and talk about like production. Like kid produces.
Yeah, guy was a stud, man. He had one of the best, if not the best, rookie seasons of a quarterback in NFL history.
Right.
When you look at a lot of the numbers, that guy was damn good. So I know they lost some guys though. They've had some attrition there. They lost Tank Dell, right, was a guy that really was balling out this year and made a lot of big plays for that team first half of the year. The Jags absolutely just folding and losing that division. I did go back and watch our season preview show where we did our picks for the division winners and who we thought was going to be the wild card teams and all this stuff like that. And
I think I picked the Jags.
Yeah, everybody on this show picked the Jags, and everybody pretty much in the comments and everybody on the poll that I ran picked the Jags. So talking about Big Doug winning the CKL Pick'em, I actually won the CKL division preview show or whatever because
we're not worthy.
Was that a thing?
Yeah, where we had picked where we thought who was going to win all the divisions or whatnot, and you and Nick both picked the 49ers and the Chiefs to win their divisions, but other than that, you guys didn't get any. And I picked the Lions and the Ravens to win their divisions. So I two-upped you guys there. Still only got half of them right, which is still 50% ain't great. But, I mean, no one was going to –
Weird year.
No one was picking the Texans to win that division.
Well, it's been almost 20 years that the NFC East has not had back-to-back champs, right?
Right. I think we all picked the Jets to win that AFC East, and Aaron Rodgers got hurt on the third play or the second play,
and he's gone.
And he's gone. That pick went up in smoke pretty quickly. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know we're all going to pick the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl at the AFC. Well, I mean, who are you guys feeling out of the NFC going to the Super Bowl?
Out of the NFC?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Is it going to be the Niners, or are you going to go the consensus? Or
dude, so we were talking a little bit about MVPs before the show, and I was alluding to that my MVP pick would be CMC. I just think the Niners are lethal. They have all the weapons. They have the defense. They've got the coach. They've got it all. I mean, we've seen it from them year in and year out. They've always been this close. They're always a little injury prone. Their quarterback's always a little, we got it, but they're always good, right? That's kind of undeniable. It's just can they survive the playoffs with all their players to me? But I would still have to pick San Francisco on the NFC side of things. I would like to see the Rams I would like to see the Lions actually make it. I'd like to see them go all the way. That'd be kind of cool, but. Yeah, I think San Francisco's got everybody's number, man. They're good. They look good.
They don't want to play the Rams. Nick?
No.
Yeah, I mean, the Rams seem like probably because they're a division opponents, the only team that's going to go in there and beat them. Do you think the Cowboys are going to go in there and beat them, or do you think that the Lions are going to go in there and beat them? I mean,
the Lions have a better shot than the Cowboys, actually, for some reason, right?
they have
Like
a better shot, but I don't think
animosity.
they have. I wouldn't pick them to beat them. You know what I mean? So the division thing makes it more likely that the Rams could go in there and do it. They've done it before also, right? I mean, the Rams have gone in there and beat the 49ers in the postseason. So I don't know. I think I'm still going with the 49ers, right? They have one less game that they have to win. I don't know if I just froze up. You guys froze up, so I'm sorry if I did, but they have one less game to win, right? They're going to be at home. I'm thinking it's going to be Chiefs 49ers again, man. I mean, the Chiefs versus the super team, right? That was the 2019-2020 season.
Yeah. I don't know if one of you guys is a whiz there and can bring up like the NFC playoff bracket real quick. When you guys able to like draw that up here in the next minute or so.
Wiz coming in hot.
There's
Oh,
a
this
man
is
right there.
This is a playoff picture. It's not the bracket. What are you looking for?
Well, I was wanting to see how. So I was trying to think of the seeds, who's what in my head. Like, if the Cowboys beat the
Packers,
then if the Eagles and Bucks, I'm trying to see like if the Rams win,
who they would be facing.
they would play the Niners in that first game.
Unless Green Bay wins.
It'd be divisional round. First game for the Niners is what I mean.
Yeah. If Dallas wins, then yes, right? But if Green Bay wins, then they'll go to San Francisco.
Right. Dallas is going to win that game. So the Rams are going to go play the 49ers in that divisional round. That's going to happen. Because I think the Rams are going to beat the Lions. I do. I think they're a little bit better. I like the Rams defense. I think they can stack up on offense. Matthew Stafford, I'll take him over Jared Goff. I'll take the Rams. They've got that running back who's had a really, really good year. Especially if you play fantasy, you know all about that guy. Tyron Williams, I think is his name, right?
I mean, the Lions have had the same thing, though. I know what you're saying about Goff, but, dude, I mean, they have St. Brown and Jamar Gibbs.
They've got Cooper Kupp. Demarcus Robinson's kind of come to life. They've got the rookie, Puka Nacua. Man, that's going to be a tough 1-6 matchup for the 49ers, the division rival. And if the Rams win that game, I think Dallas, they hold serve and they'll be playing at home. So I think there's a good chance you might see the Cowboys go to the Super Bowl. I tell you, I'm going to go Cowboys. Just since you guys both picked the Niners, I'll go against the grain. And I think I think the Cowboys find a way.
Actually going to happen? Chiefs versus that's a good storyline. Right? Mahomes
Chiefs
versus childhood team that you rooted for.
Chiefs, Dak. I'll go Chiefs. Yeah, I'll go Chiefs Cowboys. I don't think either of the ones make it.
Although if you go off of the logo thing that everybody's been talking about, it's going to be 49ers Ravens.
Right? It's supposed to be Baltimore, San Francisco. That logo's there in the top right.
Yeah, I mean, that's happened a couple years now, but they've played the Super Bowl for, 58 years and 57 years, and it's happened. That's like been 2 times now. So,
but script writing's only been going on for 2 years now.
No, what's his face? Remember Arian Foster?
Ever since the Chiefs have been good.
Texans said they were scripting it back, and that was 15 years ago, Bo.
Well, that was the last logo. Then
everybody in the
chat,
they
had to hide that shit.
I'm interested to see everybody watching here. Throw it down there in the chat who your Super Bowl prediction is going to be here.
Yeah, we had a couple. So Brenda's saying, 49ers Chiefs
rematch.
You mean rematch of last year? Or you mean rematch of the last Super Bowl that we won before that?
I don't think there's any way in hell the Eagles are making the Super Bowl.
John V, if you're watching, Elliot, if you're watching, Mike Alvarado, if you're watching, any 49ers fan that's watching and has bet with me previously on that Chiefs 49ers outcomes, I would like to extend another bet this year. I think we'll either see each other, and if we do, I think we'll beat you guys. So reach out to me.
Pepper X
we'll make a bet.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes versus Brock Purdy. Yeah, I'll take that. So, anything else you guys want to get to before we jump out of here?
No, man.
I don't think so.
I'm just excited for this game. I'm not excited for the cold.
No.
Yeah, any recommendations on what to wear for -9 degrees? I'm going to be pretty much wearing my snowboarding gear, I think.
Right.
Lots of layers. Lots of layers.
Lots of layers. A heavy
Wool.
coat. Wool socks.
Yeah.
Wool
Don't
socks.
wear cotton socks, man. That's the big no, right?
Right. Sometimes I'll wear a pair of like cotton socks, thin ones underneath the wool socks. But yeah, no, I've got some like goose hunting gear that's super warm shit that I wear, thermals. But yeah, just make sure you layer up and make sure your hand warmers. Don't forget the hand warmers. You need to go get hand warmers.
Plenty of those.
Gotta make sure you got those on deck. Stuff a couple in the toes of your boots.
Dude, race car and I, we go snowboarding, but we cut it off at 0. When it's 0 or below, we're like, nah, we're just gonna stay in the lodge today and have some hot toddies, right? This is 9 below. Whew.
I don't know that it'll be that cold. The weather people, they always like to exaggerate and say how cold it's
Snowmageddon.
Right. Snowmageddon, snowpocalypse. They said we were supposed to get 8 or 9 inches of snow earlier this week, and we got what, 3 or 4 or 5 inches.
3 or 4, yeah.
Yeah, Big Doug knows. Feet and hand warmers.
Oh, okay. -6 below now. They've updated it. -6 below, not 9.
And I think that's
like a heat wave, man.
I think that's with wind chill too, and you really don't feel the wind in the stadium as much. It swirls down in the. Well, I don't know where your seats are at. Down in the lower level, it's windier.
You're in Houston, right? Supply chain. He's saying getting down to 18.
I'm trying to look at that picture he's got for his avatar there. What is that? Is that a basketball game?
Basketball game.
Where is that? Is that a Houston Rockets?
I don't know. Yep.
Yeah, there you go. Very nice. Well, playoffs start this weekend. Chiefs start their defense. Super Bowl champions from last season. Won Super Bowl 57.
Texas Tech.
Oh, Texas Tech. Okay, there you go. Yeah, I was gonna say, I didn't look like Houston's, but I couldn't see the court graphics is good there. So, look, this team. There's also the old like go win Super Bowl 58 for number 58, the late great Derek Thomas, who's no longer with us. God rest his soul. That'd be a cool storyline. That'd be like a fate kind of like team of destiny sort of situation storyline. Looking forward to playoff football. It's hard to believe the regular season's already gone and we're getting ready for playoffs, but we're here. So I know the season's not over yet. We're going to be doing shows, but thank you again to everybody who watches this show, all of our viewers, all of our subscribers, followers on Twitter. It just makes being part of Chiefs Kingdom and makes the seasons and the games just that much more fun and that much more enjoyable to be able to share the fandom with all of you all. And don't worry about money for shipping or any of these gifts or anything like that. We're happy to do it, and it's all
Bo's rich, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I take Scott and Nick's money. I'm rich.
Yeah.
No, thanks to everybody that came by. Cheers. If you guys are going to be out at the game, hit us up. We're going to be out there. We're figuring out our plans. Probably going to try to park and lot in. So come by, say hello.
Yeah. We're going to be – I don't know how much tailgating we'll be doing because it's going to be fucking cold out there. I don't think I need to spend any more – I think I'll be going straight from the car to my seats. So, but you can always go into the bathroom or the gift shop and warm up and get out of the wind there. And, hey, it's just one of those things where you got to go to the games. You never know what you're going to see. That Bills divisional game, I had no idea we were going to see one of the greatest games of all time. You just never know. That's why you go, and that's why they play the games. So thanks again, everybody who watches. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for the views. We hope you all enjoy the prizes. Congratulations to our winners. And if you didn't win this time, just, hey, hang in there for next time. We plan on doing some more here.
There will be
Chiefs take
more.
on the Dolphins at Arrowhead in the wild card round of the NFL playoffs. Until next week, we'll be back Wednesday. Let's go Chiefs.
Let's go,
Let's go,
Chiefs.
Before we sign off, though, cheers to you guys, Scott and Nick, on our third
Cheers,
season
man.
here. Hey, congratulations, guys.
It's been fun. I look forward to it every week. It's one of the highlights of my week and my season.
It's always fun. But yeah, cheers. Go Chiefs,
Let's
guys.
keep rocking it. Let's keep going. Get a win this Saturday, baby.